everyone. Miss Katie here with the Girl Scouts of Virginia Skyline Council. Today we are working on Brownie First Aid, but before I hop in and go over our activities for today, I want to give a shout out to our current members. Thank you so much for your support. Please remember to renew your membership, and if you're interested in joining our council, we would love to have you join us. So please come support us. Okay, so today we are doing Brownie First Aid. We're going to work on step 1 and step 3 together, but I'll go over all the steps in case you want to work on this badge independently, and we'll kind of go from there. So step 1 is find out how to get help from 911, super important. Step 2 is talk to someone who treats injured people. Step 3 is make a first aid kit. Step 4 is learn how to treat minor injuries, and step 5 is know how to prevent and treat outdoor injuries. So where I'd like to start today is I want to talk about 911, what it is, how we use it, when we use it, how it all works. So 911 is the number that we call to get help, and it signals a police or a fire department or some sort of emergency service that is closest to your location to come and help you. So the way that this works is we only use 911 if you need help, which is if you're in an emergency situation, or if you need help, if you don't know what to do, if there is danger lurking and you need help. So I'm going to kind of go over, before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to call and who to call and what qualifies an emergency, I just want to make sure that my Brownie girls are aware of how to use our phones and how to actually call. Again, I'm not going to call right now because I'm not in an emergency. I'm just talking about what we would do in an emergency, but I'll show you how to do it in case you guys would ever need to. And I hope you don't, but it's always good to know. So everybody's aware of these things called smartphones. We all know and love them. So I hope that you're familiar with how to work it. I know you guys get on here and use YouTube and all those fun games and stuff. So I hope this isn't totally unfamiliar to you guys, but in case you aren't, I want to make sure that you are knowledgeable on how to use these things. So here is our fancy smartphone, and even if you don't have a smartphone, most phones, the home screen looks pretty similar. So all phones have, typically it's green. It might be a different color, but you need to look for this little symbol that resembles a phone, and you're going to click on that. And when you click on that, and again, if you don't have a smartphone, this might look different, but just kind of fiddle around with it, get familiar with whatever phone you have available to you. There's your keypad. So this is what we use to dial numbers. And again, I know you guys know this, but I'll go over it anyway. Okay, so here's our keypad, and to call 911, that is the number that we're going to call. So if I were in a state of emergency, I would press 911. That's it. That's the number. And then you press this green button. Again, I'm not going to do it, but that's how I would do it if I needed to. Now, when you dial any number, you hear a dial tone, which is a long kind of drawn out beep, like a, and that's a noise that signals that, hey, you're on the line, it's calling somebody. Okay, so this says here, and I just want to make sure I kind of cover all the basics. Again, 911 is the number that we call to get help in a police, fire, or medical emergency. A 911 call is transmitted over a phone line to the 911 answering point. So like I said, whether it's fire, EMS, police, whoever's closest to where you live, that'll determine who's answering the 911 call. But they are all professionals waiting to assist you, which is a really great thing that we have. And the way that it works is you call, and then trained personnel will send over emergency help as needed. But let me scroll on up here. It is your job to explain what's going on. So I want you guys to take in what I'm about to tell you because it's really important. So when should we call 911? In an emergency or when you need help? When you need the police, fire department, or ambulance. Maybe there's not a grown-up around to help you call 911, so that's why I'm kind of giving you guys this tutorial on how to call, and don't be afraid to call because it's very important and it could be a life-saving measure if you do call. Okay, so we've gone over how to push our buttons on the phone. Again, you're going to push 9 and then 1, 1. Say it as many times as you need over in your head until you remember those 3 numbers because they might save your life. So let's see. First thing they're going to ask you is what's wrong, and you need to first and foremost remain calm. I know it might be scary, but try to remember to just breathe and remain calm because you have to tell them what's going on. So try to do your best to explain whatever situation you're in. For example, say you and a trusted adult were hiking and your adult or caretaker or parent or anybody really, maybe you were with a friend, fell and got hurt and you didn't know what to do. So you would need to tell, they're called a dispatcher, that's the person on the other end of the phone, what's going on. Try to be as specific as you can, and they will kind of guide you along and ask you the questions. So you have to tell them what's going on. What type of emergency is it? Maybe there's somebody choking in a restaurant. Maybe I'm being followed by a stranger. Maybe there's a burglary in my house. So just try to be aware of what's going on and remember to just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. It's as long as you remember to call that someone will be there to help you shortly. Okay. Explain where the help is needed. Try to describe where you are. You need to state your name also, who you are, and where you are. If you know what your address is, try to say it as quickly as you can, where you are, so the dispatcher can send help to that location. Okay, let's see. So you're going to answer all the questions that are asked of you, and then that's great. Yeah. So again, only call in if there's an emergency or if you need help. So I want you guys to think about when you should not call 911, because again, this is a really important phone line that people call all the time when they need help. And it's important that we don't call when it's unnecessary. So let's think about that. So when should you not call 911? When there's not an emergency. For animals, if animals are hurt, you can call an emergency vet line, but that's not the same number as 911, so that's important to remember. This is only for people. As a game or a prank, again, this is a really important service that we have, so it's important to not clog up the phone lines just for the sake of fun, because that's not very kind. As a joke or even to practice. Like I said, you saw me practicing here. I just didn't press the button. So you know what to do. You can, again, kind of practice on your phone, but you're not going to actually call. You can just kind of get familiar with your phone and practice in that way versus actually pressing call or send. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so let's see. I want to make sure I covered all my points. I think that's good. So 911, when you need help, when there's an emergency, don't do it as a joke. Try to be specific, state who you are, state where you are, state what's going on, and then they'll kind of guide you along the way. Okay, so step 3 is make a first aid kit, and I had every intention of making one myself, but then my husband came home and he had just bought a new one. So I want to use my resources wisely, and I thought I would just unpack my first aid kit. That way you guys can build your own, because I do think it would be more cost effective if you bought only what you needed versus spending $20 on a first aid kit. But again, I'm going to kind of go over what's inside, and I guess I'll start by saying that what you choose to put in your first aid kit depends on where you're going and how long you're going there. It also depends on your age, because you might need certain things if you're a different level of if you're a little bit older or a little bit younger. It just really depends on the situation. So think about that. Think about how long you're going to be gone. Think about weight. If you're hiking, you don't want to take a big heavy first aid kit, so try to be diligent in what you choose. But you also want to be thorough. So if you're going somewhere for a long period of time, you want to make sure that you have everything you need. So I believe that we're actually going to take this first aid kit. We are traveling to Michigan, and we're going to be gone for a couple of weeks. So we wanted to bring this, so we had everything we need just ready to go. Now, when I was preparing on building my own first aid kit, I grabbed one of these pencil boxes from Walmart. I think that would be a great resource to put all of your things in for your first aid kit. I think this was like 97 cents. So let's kind of unpack. So again, think about where you're going, what you might need. A good starter place is you need some sort of antibacterial, whether it's a band-aid or wipes, or I know they have little, what is it called? Little cleansing wipes, I guess. Something with antibacterial, which can clean cuts if you're somewhere, or if you have a nasty cut or injury. They can just clean it up. It has alcohol in it, which helps to keep the inside clean, which is good. Okay, so let's go over mine. So I have some sponges, which is just like gauze. So it's padding, again, for an injury. So if you have a bigger cut, I would probably use something like this because it's wider than a bandage and it's got some protection, some padding there. So I think that's a good thing to have. And it's also sterile, which means it's very clean, because you have to think about germs and what you touch if you're caring for a wound. And we'll go over that in a later program. But let's just look at what we need to care for wounds. This one actually included popsicle sticks, which I thought was such a good idea because this could be used as a splint. A splint is something that so say I had 2 broken fingers, it's a little bit long, but I would take this and I would bind this to my fingers to help keep them straight, to prevent further injuries or pain if I'm, say, out in the wilderness and I can't get to a medical emergency or a hospital quickly. So I would use that as a temporary relief. So those are great to have. I would definitely recommend popsicle sticks. What a great idea. So I've got some, let's see, surgical tape, paper tape. So again, this can be used to either wrap splints or wrap gauze. I think tape is always a great idea. Might even throw duct tape in there if you can. Or wrap duct tape around your water bottle. That's a great idea. Because duct tape can be used in so many ways, especially in the state of an emergency. So here are some antiseptic towels. So again, just methods of cleaning your wound, very, very important. I also saw some things online where people took old Tic Tac containers and they filled it with either hydrogen peroxide or cream. I thought that was a good idea. So you guys can maybe consider that when you're building your first aid kit. Triple antibiotic ointment, again, just lots of things to clean whatever it is you have going on. So I'll just kind of go over this because I do think it's relevant. If you have a wound, you're going to start by cleaning the site. So you're going to, where is it? You're going to take an antiseptic towel and you're going to clean the spot that's hurt. And then you're going to put some sort of ointment, again, antiseptic ointment, on that same spot to kind of moisturize it and continue to treat it before you bandage it. And then you would take, again, depending on the size, either a gauze or a bandage, and then you can wrap it. So yeah, little lesson. My dog is throwing a fit outside. I'm very sorry. Let's keep going. Alcohol prep pads, same thing. Cleaning the site, very important if you have an injury. Aspirin, well, this says non-aspirin, but I think aspirin would be a good idea if you have a killer headache when you're out and about. Always helpful. Again, it helps with pain. And then I just have an assortment of bandages. Try to get as many different size bandages as you can. And I would get, let's see how many are included in here. My first aid kit includes 50 bandages of different sizes, and it depends on if your first aid kit is for your troop or if it's for your own personal use, because if it's just for you, the likelihood of you needing 50 bandages is small. But again, it depends on how long you're traveling, so think about that. Try to get as many different sizes. This one is good for the toes and little weird parts of the body that might get hurt or split. But bandages can never, I mean, it's a great thing to have always. And again, depending on weight, just try to bring as many as necessary because it is better to have more than not enough. So just kind of think through all those things. Tweezers. Everybody needs some tweezers. Say you have a tick, you need to help pull off a tick or a splinter. That would be great to have. On the trails especially. Here is another very large sponge. Sterile sponge. Again, sizes, variations, always a good idea. And the last thing in my box is, this is an ice compress. We also sell, I think it would be good to get hand warmers. Hand warmers would be good. I wish mine had that in there. So if I were building my own, I would probably bring, in addition to a cold compress, something with heat, because that would also be helpful. So we have our ointments, we have our, our wrappings. Oh, I also have gloves, plastic gloves, very important, to keep, again, the site sterile and clean and prevent the further spread of germs. So yeah, I think personally, I would also consider maybe putting in, depending how old you are, certain feminine products might be a good idea. So think about that. You can talk with your troop leader about whether or not that would be suitable for you. Just think about it. Us as ladies, we need certain things. But yeah, that is my first aid kit. Again, I think it would be a better idea for you guys to build your own and kind of make it exactly what you need versus just buying a generic one at the store. But if you guys need any, advice or ideas for how to further build your first aid kit, you can always email me and ask me some questions. But that is our Brownie First Aid. Find out how to get help from 911 and make and unpack a first aid kit. Again, 911, 911, those are the numbers to remember to call. Let me know if you guys have questions. Have a great day.